Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so today's Read Aloud, Think Aloud, we're going to be looking at the reading strategy of asking questions of the text. Good readers, when they are reading through a text, sometimes they will they'll read a scene or they'll read a passage and they will ask themselves, why did this happen? Or why did these people react that way? Or what is the purpose of this character in there? Good readers, ask questions about that kind of stuff, and sometimes those questions are concretely answered in the text later on, or they are something abstract and picked up through a subtext dialogue or through reading between the lines, reading the mood of the text. All right. So, for example, when we left off of part one from chapter two, we were left with the questions uh, what is Saint going to go do for the day? Because he was going off with his clarinet and he was going to the French Quarter for some reason, right? It didn't really answer that question, which kind of led into another question of why are his parents allowing him to go off on his own, right? Because that was almost that was kind of the last thing he said, was that they didn't always allow him to go off on his own. Okay, so that was a couple of the questions that we left off of from the first part of chapter 2. All right, so those questions will probably be answered in this section, more than likely, so please keep that in mind as we read through this. Please follow along in your own text so that you can take notes as I take notes.
The summer before sixth grade, when I'd asked if I could start performing at Jackson Square, I got a double no. So I told them I signed up for advanced swimming lessons at the park, a little white lie, and instead headed to Jackson Square with my clarinet. And I got away with it too. For 4 days, that is. On the fourth day, I was playing to a small crowd of happy tourists, really putting on a show, when I glanced up, and there they were, Valentine and Mercedes Beach, not smiling. How they knew where to find me, I'll never know. My punishment consisted of having to actually take advanced swimming lessons and no street performing for a whole year. A whole year? You gotta be kidding, I argued. Do you know how much money I could be making? Take it or leave it, they'd reply. Surprisingly, the year seemed like it passed in no time, and now I'm a really good swimmer, and also free to put on the St. Louis Armstrong Beach show practically whenever I want.
All right, so that's kind of the big question of this slide here, is why is he so worried about money? He was outraged and he was wanting to go make some money at Jackson Square with his clarinet for a while, which is uh, ironically, I guess, what he was wanting to go do. That he was willing to lie to his parents about it. Okay, and he's wanting to go make money for something. I wonder what he's wanting to make money for. All right, let's keep reading and see if we get that question answered.
Shadow trailed me to the front door, and I had one foot outside when I saw her climbing into the passenger side of her mama's car. Hey, money! I shouted, hoping for the 100th time that she'd talk to me or at least smile. Instead, she glanced my way, frowned, waved at me like she was shooing away a fly, and shut the door. I imagined her whispering the words little boy as her mother drove off and watched until the car turned the corner. Shadow, resting on his hind legs at my feet, was quiet and as still as a statue. Come on, boy, I told him, and headed to the quarter. Like a shadow at noon, he was on my heels. Morning, Saint, old Miss Moran greeted me from her narrow porch, where she was sitting in her creaky rocking chair like she does every day but Sunday. Sundays, she goes to early mass at St. Augustine's, then takes the Canal Street ferry across to Algiers to visit her daughter. Come Monday, though, you'll find her right back in that chair, creaking and watching and creaking. Hey, Miss Moran, I ever tell you that you're as handsome as that tall, brown daddy of yours?
Yeah, in that instance, it was kind of like, did she really just say that? that's kind of the question that I have for that one, but it's not really a question that you're going to find an answer to in the text. It's one of those, oh, are you surprised questions. This question that I notated up here, however, is why is a girl named Money? See, because it's saying, he's saying, hey, Money, and based on the pronouns that are used here, we got she to talk to me, her, mama's car, that Money here is a girl. So the question that come up is, why is a girl named Money? Right, usually that is not a nickname that you have for a young lady. Let's keep going and see if we find the answer to that question too.
Almost every time I see her, she says the same thing. Yes, Miss Moran? And as usual, she shook her crooked finger at me and chuckled. You be good as a saint now. I will, I promised, knowing I wouldn't ever come close to being any kind of saint. Well, maybe in my dreams. No, not even there.
Well, at least he's honest. He knows he's not a saint.
As I walked, I once again wished that my name wasn't Saint. Folks always have something to say about it, and I mean always. Usually they assume my pops is a huge fan of the New Orleans Saints, which he is, but that's not how I came by the name. Then I wished my middle name wasn't Louis Armstrong, but only because the trumpet's not my instrument, and since I carry his name, some people insist it ought to be. If I could have picked my own name, I'd have chosen Valentine Xavier Beach, just like my pops. Instead, I was named after my pop's daddy, Saint, who according to everyone who knew him was anything but, and Louis Armstrong, who supposedly had been a bosom buddy of his. King Daddy Saint, which is what almost everyone called him, already had one foot in the grave when I was born, so my mama and pops gave him the honor of naming me. Sadly, 6 months after I was born, King Daddy Saint died. Halfway to Jackson Square, I thought about money again. Not the money in my pocket, the money who lives next door to me and who, even though she's a year older than me and is a teenager now, up until just before Christmas had been my play sister and my very best friend.
Alright. So the last question that we could be left off with here is, what happened at Christmas? Alright. What happened at Christmas that Little Miss Money and Saint are no longer friends, right? And then there's this big paragraph up here where he talks about getting his name, but he's talking about how he wished his name wasn't Saint, or his middle name wasn't Louis Armstrong. And then that got me to thinking, I wonder if everybody goes through a phase where they don't like their names, if it's just something that happens at a certain age, which I can understand that. It happens. Alright. Clear those off. And there we go.
Her name's not really Money, it's Mona Lisa. But a long time ago, her baby cousin who couldn't say Mona Lisa started calling her Money, and it stuck. That's another thing that happened last year. She told everyone, please stop calling me Money, call me Mona Lisa. But I never did. Shadow nudged the back of my leg as if to say, stop thinking about her, but I kept on. The way I figure, there are 3 reasons Money changed up on me. The number 1 reason was that she got her girl parts, which caused the older boys in the neighborhood to glance her way and sling sweet talk. The second reason was that she grew at least 5 inches in what seemed like overnight, making her a full head taller than me. The last reason was her parents let her transfer from St. Anne's, our Catholic school, to the public middle school last fall. In no time flat, she became a member of this pretty girl clique who kept on her about why the little boy was always hanging around her house. Hey, little boy, they teased, and whenever Money was with a new friend, she began to ignore me. But if she was alone, she'd still talk to me when I'd knock on her door or squeeze through the back fence into her yard, so I didn't mind too much. And Mama said, don't let your feelings get hurt, Saint, it's just peer pressure. Mama's a social worker at a big hospital, so she knows all about that kind of stuff.
So why is Money changing so much? After moving schools. I'm sure y'all can kind of relate to that a little bit. You go to a new school, you come around new friends, you start acting a little bit differently so that y'all can fit in, right? I'm sure she's going through the same thing. Her real name is Mona Lisa, so that kind of answers, and this text here kind of answers why a young girl is called Money. Like I had asked on the couple of slides previously. She had a baby cousin that couldn't say Mona Lisa. She called her Money. There's probably quite a few of you that have nicknames given by baby cousins because they couldn't say your full name, or baby siblings. Let's keep moving along. What happened after Christmas? Or before
Then,
Christmas?
just before Christmas, everything changed. I rang Money's doorbell, and this high school dude with a goatee and a thick gold chain, who I'd seen around now and then, always with a different cutie, answered the door like he lived there. Because I'd seen her parents leave for work, I'd expected her to be home alone. Inside, music blasted. "Is Money here?" I asked. He smirked and peered inside. "I don't know, let me see. Is Money here, y'all?" He yelled over the music. I peeked through the cracked door. It was a party. People were dancing. I recognized some of the girls from Money's clique. "Nah, Money ain't here, but if you got something you want to give us, you welcome to come on in," one of the fellas replied. By that time, people were laughing, so when the brother with the goatee threw the door open as if to say it was okay to enter, something warned me not to, but I didn't pay attention. Instead, I listened to the nosy side of me and stepped inside.
Alright, I wonder if that is something that happens a lot. He says that something's warning him not to go in there, but he didn't pay attention. He goes in anyway because he's nosy. So that prompts this question here. I wonder if that's something that happens a lot with him. Is he that curious all the time? Then he's got Money's got people over at her house and loud music blasting. What is going on in the house? Right? So that's a question that pops up. Let's read on and see what is happening in this house.
There were open liquor bottles on the coffee table, and almost everyone was drinking. I scanned the room for Money. "It's Lil Boy," one of the girls slurred, and took a sip from her paper cup. Snickers followed. Then this blue-eyed Creole brother poured some alcohol into a cup and handed it to me. "Here, have a taste, Lil Boy." He and some of the others began to cheer me on, and I had the cup to my lips when, from the corner of my eye, I glimpsed Money coming downstairs, a bottle in each hand. Without taking a sip, I lowered the cup from my mouth. "The little boy want to know if Money's here," the high school brother told her. As soon as she saw me, she tried to hide the bottles behind her back. "It ain't Money," I stammered.
Alright, so this question that popped up right as I, basically almost right as I typed it, you kind of get the answer to it right below, is why I drew an arrow to it, because that question is being answered by the text right here below it. Money came down the stairs with a bottle in each hand. So that's where Money was. The drama is picking up. Let's see how Money and Saint are going to handle this.
"My name ain't Money, it's Mona Lisa. Everyone knows that," she proclaimed, then asked, "What are you doing here, Saint?" That really got them started. "Saint? Saint who?" the blue-eyed brother asked. "Saint Beach," I replied, even more laughing. "Mona Lisa's little boyfriend," one of the girls mocked. The one with the goatee glared at me as he slipped his arm around Money's waist. "That's so." "He's just a kid from next door. A kid from next door who needs to go home now," she commanded as she quickly ushered me to the door. "Bye, little cutie," the girl with the paper cup said, and her giggling followed me outside.
Alright. Seems to not be handling it too bad.
Before Money closed the door in my face, she glanced at the cup that was still in my hand and grabbed it. "Give me that. And Saint, keep your big mouth shut. Don't turn into no rodent on me or I'll never talk to you again, ever." I gazed into her pretty brown eyes. "I won't." I said, and left. Later that day, Shadow must have heard the sad song I was playing on my clarinet. He squeezed through the gate into the backyard and nuzzled my shoulder like he wanted to play. At least he's still my friend, I thought.
Alright, so a couple of questions that come up on this last little bit of part 2 of chapter 2 is Saint going to tell on her? Because Money's told her not to tell, that she's got a party with some drinking, and she's underage drinking. So, is Saint going to end up telling on her? He says that he won't, but I don't know. Something may end up happening. Let's save that for another time. And then he's saying that later that day, Shadow must have heard the sad song I was playing on my clarinet. So he's feeling sad, so he's playing a sad song. So why do you think he is so sad?